선지의 죄도 선지의 전함과 장초가 동당의 겹선지 너의 신성기의 전함기 교라 벤치 선지의 교가 선지의 죄도 선지의 전함과 장초가 동당의 겹선지 너의 신성기의 전함기 교라 벤치 선지의 교가 선지의 죄도 선지의 전함과 장초가 동당의 겹선지 나의 진정이 배선함기 돌아온 세상의 교가시오. 장제기에기 미든초 다 지페로 디지디 전에 제와를 가부지에 더 차로도 디지디 디 도초 아니 마가와지에 되다 아니 공동체 딘디기 마가와지에 지 연치 파조디 교통의 마가와지에 연구도 디지디 다 교통의 마가와지에 디 장제의 뇌기유나 다 뒤에 봤을 때 제고야지 차대였다.
With regard to the opposing forces, that which opposes love and the caring attitude, so that which opposes those two is not liking someone. So when we dislike someone, this can have two causes that give rise to such dislike. One is anger, and one is perceiving faults in the other person. So perceiving faults in another person serves as an obstacle or is an obstacle to generating love and a caring attitude. In particular, because the caring attitude is an awareness that likes another person. So it's out of liking that we care for another person. So in that way, it's important to overcome the perception of faults in another person. So this needs to be overcome in order for love and a caring attitude to arise.
다디지디 전에 아니 교통의 로디 가에 가르스나 아니 미치글다 먼저 미디 도자시부터 시디 아니 가르친 도스는 굉장히 하시시에 들어왔지 니 숨시 가시지 안 디기 베드 코나보나 장수시다 미디 베드 교육 본부임을 올라샤 베드 마가와지지 단 왜네 제가 콜레 레비 참고 부시시요래 단 먼저 가서로 수월만에 뒤전에 우리는 지가 드라마도 같이 수수기 강한 통화 대점지가 안디체네 나보다 이제 통대마도 야보진 딱이 있는 콜레 균기 가서 윤댕이 참고 부시시요라 딱 균기 차지 가시지 요래 딜러 뛰는 두자래디 야 윤댕이 차시나 뭐 유디 딜러 뛰는 야부차대요 디제가 있는 나보다 이제 통해기 통내 마가와 지에디 매와 차로
So with regard to the awareness that perceives faults in another person, so this is what we need to seize, that's what we need to stop, that type of awareness. So when we see someone as negative, when we consider a person as bad, we consider them to be really bad, very bad. Why? Because it's not just that we consider one reason for why they're not a good person. We consider many reasons. One reason, two reasons, three reasons, and so forth. So we see this person as totally negative, as if this person were the leader of all faults. So in that sense here, there's in actuality, although we see all these faults, but in actuality there are also positive sides to this person. This person also has good qualities. And so in order to be able to change our attitude towards them, we need to also consider the positive sides, to consider also the qualities that this person possesses. So we say in relation to or in connection to faults or dependence on faults, we say the person is a bad person. And in dependence on positive qualities, we say this is a good person. So therefore, we need to consider both, or not just the negative side. We should not just consider the negative qualities, but also the positive qualities of that person. So then they do not appear to us, or we don't perceive them as totally negative, as totally bad. Or as it would be in Tibetan literally, as totally black or totally negative.
단디지도 있잖아요. 꽤나 유니 차키님이 나보다 이제 인간 폐지 유지 말이다. 진짜도 유지 말이. 단기시 유병원도 단에 내가 되는 단디지 유병원도 단에 딜라다 그래 점단도 있잖아요. 제전 참선의 단디 연구도 능면쇼 미디 교육이 같이 통지도 저번에 미디 통되네 나오면 돼야지. 막아야지 레차스나 아니 딜라 파게 소설 내게 게임에 다 독자 통에 막아야 될 차수나 미디 저방이 뭐 쉬지 독자도 텐사리 아니 퀄리티스 강에 채워있나 다 퀄리티 고지 디레스에 레오다 인지계 파샤니 디 독초 파게 디 뇌셈스로시 다 비제베지 레오다.
So with regard to qualities and faults, Geshe-la says he doesn't think that there's anyone who has only faults, who doesn't have any positive qualities. So he's saying it's not possible to have someone who's just black. In other words, who's just a bad person, just a negative kind of person. So, of course, with regard to some circumstances, sometimes it's possible that due to some circumstances, we start to dislike a person. There are certain events that unfold, and due to those events, we start disliking this person, and we generate dislike for him or her, and thereafter, seeing several faults in that person, thereafter, everything we see, everything about this person, we regard as faulty. We consider to be faulty. And in that way, then when something negative happens to them, when some negative situations arise for that person, they're unlucky with regard to things happening to them, there's a sense they really deserve this. So this, because of their negative behavior, they deserve to experience these problems. So leaving aside compassion, we're not even able to generate compassion, but instead there's a mind that feels happy about their misfortune, or in other words, there's a harmful kind of intention that arises in our continuum with regard to that person.
제가 다 갈라오래 개발에다 개발진 연애하고 있는 미치기 아니 딘딜라에서 바게 딘디 송거스 다테요라 부고다 딘딜 부고 다다 딘디 진신 딘딜 저런 말에 사가리샤스 가르스나 마마 지지기도 저런 말 지주니 미스 이찬이 저런 말에 사가리스 딘디 성타 된데 사버다.
So there's the story of a Dharma practitioner, a great master, a practitioner. So one day this person, he considered a mule or a donkey, and he said, you are much better than me because you don't have that much arrogance. So therefore in consideration, kind of independence on certain beings, we can say that they are better than us from the point of view of certain qualities. So here in this case, from the point of view of arrogance.
Then 내가 원도 전에 교회샤다 유행이지 되네 통배 원도 땅에 뒤를 섬는 단도네 미디 아니 기 텐데기 통에 섬는 단바이나 아멘 코바니 기드네 텐데 두자요 말아 아멘 코바니 기드네 베게 미세딩 아멘 코바니 기드네 밀도 두자라딩 섬나체딩 마제 사고인딩 텐데지 자원이 요말 아멘 코바니 기드는 저 잡으래 다른 매일매일 참여지는데 어느 거는 참여지세요 파마리 인도리 인유리 어느 로틴싱이래 다 딘디 게임 뭐지 체니 딘디지기 원에 매일매일 주어 친제 미세 다 주로 두자체 딘디기 두자데도 차대로 게임이 뭐 뭐지 체비 원기 딘디 차대죠 차대요.
So, with regard to a person who we temporarily perceive to be only negative, someone who we only see as faulty, unable to see any good qualities in that person, so someone only faulty, this person, we need to consider this person from the point of view of dependent arising. So this person was not always negative or faulty or engaged in negative qualities from the moment they were born from the womb of their mother. So at that time, they did not engage in actions of killing, harming others, being greedy, being arrogant, and so forth. So to consider the fact that when they were born, when they were newly born from their mother, they didn't engage in any of those negative actions. And then slowly, as they grew up, as they grew older, then due to the circumstances, so possibly due to their parents, their relatives, friends, the people who advised them, etc. So due to these circumstances, therefore this person may have changed, or they may have changed to such a degree that they started to kill other people and started to engage in negative behavior. So there are a lot of unconducive circumstances or conditions that give rise to the negative behavior of that person, which initially they didn't have, but then it was generated due to the collection of these negative circumstances.
지자다 디인디자네 기시 퀄리티에 기긴 차상 소소를 태여버이나 소소에 다가는 차이를 직경 차이를다 그래서는 모빈니스를 온도 좀 그래 요말 그 깽기 왕기도 교조해야지 디차인디자네 딘디레.
So if these unconducive, if these negative conditions were to arise in our case, we would just be the same. We would become like that person. We would be exactly the same. Why? Because we do not exist independently. We do not exist independently, and so therefore our character, who we are, is dependent on conditions. So it's conditions, it's through the power of different conditions that we become who we are now.
지금 또 선로디 야고지 걸어봐이나 엔초진에 가르쳐야 그랬으나 다 디인디 전에 다 소소를 게임이 뭐 맞춰봐다 아니 괜찮고 체디 나로다 수수기 파마닌세르기 위신이래다 뭐고지 디게디 다 같은 친구인 거지 걸로 내려로 소소딘데 두자 맞춰야지 되라되는 레스 엔초진에 다 콜라 다 게임이 뭐 체고왕이 디차인데 기시 게임이 뭐 맞춰나 딘데 차에 매버 인자 인증제시 다 콜라 게임 뭐 체제는 그런데 자기는 뭐 체에다 인지세 인지계획이 내용을.
So therefore, if we think about this well, if we consider this well, so in the case of ourselves, so when we encounter negative conditions or positive conditions, or negative circumstances and positive circumstances, so for us, we do encounter positive ones and negative ones, but then with regard to everything that is going well for us, so we should consider the fact that whatever is positive in our lives is due to our parents, is due to our relatives, is due to our spiritual teachers who gave us the appropriate advice and so forth. So in that way there's a sense of gratitude. There's a sense of gratitude with regard to their actions that enabled us to be free from certain faults. And then with regard to the faults of the other person, understanding that if they hadn't encountered these negative circumstances, well, these faults wouldn't have arisen in their continuum. They wouldn't have these negative qualities. And in that way, we should generate compassion for them, considering the fact that it's merely due to these circumstances that they became like that. If they hadn't encountered those circumstances, if they wouldn't have become the person that they are now.
딘디지 데세디야 아니 그 당원님이 딘디 쪽에 자교하고 치다 난게 게임 오지 전에 대왕이 아니 딘디기다 야보 딘디 거기 초도 주고 차대야지 딘디 딘디 게 차장 기시 미디를 줘봐이나 미디에 딘디 차투 그랬어 차에 좀 신기 차네 저걸 매대봐.
So likewise, when we talk about the best person, the most positive person, so from the Buddha's point of view, that is considered to be the Buddha. From the point of view of good qualities, we consider the Buddha to be the greatest. There's no one greater than the Buddha. But we need to consider the fact that initially the Buddha was not like that. Before he became enlightened, he was not like that. It was due to many external and internal circumstances, many external and internal conditions coming together that in the end the Buddha became such a superior being. And so therefore we should consider the fact that this person who we consider to be negative, if for this person all these positive external and internal conditions were to come together, they would be just like the Buddha.
지선 내가 긴 최당이 지단능이 긴 최당직이 제벌셔라마도 시제찬에 에네 선제된 제벌매대와 지선 따딜라디 심진 간지지이네 간지 두자지이네 시제찬에 셰버이나 에네 선제된 제매대게 따디네 수수기 가서 자친구 야 가보지사 야복 통사 간지지이네 디키모제 심진인바 통대 디게디 시제찬에 심지디다 지벌에 시제찬에 두자 말에 정신 두자 말에 어디 섬로도 내용도 아니 신의 마가와디 세트베지 용으로 마가와 그균 시신도 균 통신도요 마가와디 마이메지.
So therefore, with regard to these temporary faults, understanding that these faults are not in the nature of this person, but rather that it's due to external and internal circumstances that these faults arouse. And that from a fundamental basis point of view, so rudimentarily, or from the point of view of the fundamental basis, there is no difference between this person and the Buddha. So likewise, we should think, when we think of any positive kind of person, a good person, anyone we can think of, so from the point of view of their fundamental basis, there is no difference with regard to this positive person and the person we dislike. So understanding it's not in the nature of this person who we dislike. It's not in their nature to be a bad person, to be a negative person. If we understand that, then our dislike for this person will vanish. In the sense that although while we perceive the faults, we still perceive the faults of that person, but we will not dislike them. Understanding that from a fundamental basis, from the point of view of the fundamental basis, from the point of view of their nature, they do not have those faults.
당 안주 창마로 하게 갈라쳐로 미신다의 소소를 제와체나 가고 유딩이 소소를 로봇 소소 강의 체디 로봇 제공해 된지 있으면 주딩 안주 창마로 유디 미 두자도 제 미 같이 두자 있네 뒤에 뒤여로다 미신다의 소소를 가보지나 그런 팽도를 그런 가보여 그런 강의 체디 미신다의 로봇 제공해 집어래 디지디전에 아니 원수기 재단이 딘디기 내단지 와네 원수 재단이 가르쳐야 되으나 미창모 가부지에서 깨달음이 야는 인지모 유딩이 야는 윤내지모 유딩이 딜라 원수야 가부지 미창모 마가와지에서 딜라 원수야 마가와지 디 된다라 가르쳐 차도도 디지단데 가르쳐 차도에서는 농에 뭐부지나 미창모에 대해서 딜라 소재 참가죠 다 농에 지를 미팅이 너무 딜라 소재 맞대버지 디더브레도 미창모 가부지 제와 대사들아 소소에 제와 대 참가죠 다 미창모의 제와 맞대서다 농인 비셔팅이 매서서도 미다 두자 지소는 두자들아 딜라는 소소에 맞대버지 디 견사시로 차로도.
So actually all of us are the same in the sense that when another person is nice to us, if another person cares for us, we're happy. And in the same way, when we experience problems, when we experience difficulties, when someone helps us, when someone assists us, we're happy. So we're all the same in that way. On the other hand, the bad person, the person we regard as faulty and as negative, the person we dislike, well, they're just like that. So when someone likes them, they're pleased. They're happy when they're being helped, when they receive help. They're happy when others help them, when they have problems and difficulties and so forth. But usually the way we deal with liking and disliking other people is like whoever other people consider to be likable. So those who are famous, those who have good qualities, those who are handsome, beautiful, etc. So we all of us like those kind of people. We all kind of we're drawn towards those people and like them. Whereas those ones that no one really likes, well, we also dislike. This actually compares to everyone practicing generosity with those who have a lot of money and ignoring those who are poor. So it's like this, that we ignore those who no one likes, we also dislike them, and we're drawn towards those who everyone likes. It's a bit like giving a lot of money to those who already have money and ignoring the beggars.
단단한 저기 거사한테 연구도 미 군기 미 지용기 다 제모 특별히 제제인디 뽑아체네라 그랬다 유제제를 자세제를 다 총결을 다 담는다 체다 미 지당 미 제모 특별히 제나 시부지 다 디체 특별히 뽑아체 게다제 지기도 저는 디소를 지는 미참에 가부지서들 가부지 윤den체다 딱게 디소를 가부지 연하면은 수소를 가부지 쓰더라 파 가부지 디도 미창만 팀으로 준조게 지거로 다디다 대선다 할래 게민도 다 수소를 내경이들 파 가부지 도 있나 미창에 부자지 쓰더라 수진지 제도 있나 다 띵문에라야 데스 제자체 도에지라도 포버지 처에지라도
In general, there's this tendency we have as humans that we like to do things that are special, things that no one else can do. We have this tendency to do something special, in the sense like doing exercises that are very special, doing high jump, certain dances and things, anything that is unique that no one else can do. So there's a special kind of pride if we're able to do that. So then here, in the case of it leads to some kind of fame, if you like. So we're some kind of confidence and some kind of fame if we do something special. Now, in the case of everyone liking the same person, so in the case of everyone liking the same person because they're famous, so they're popular. Everyone likes the popular person, and so usually everyone goes along and also likes that popular person. Actually there's nothing so special, and also with regard to liking us, there's nothing so special about it, because actually even animals may feel drawn to us. But actually, if we take the person that is negative, like a person who harms others, a harmful kind of person, a negative kind of person, and generate compassion for that person, now that is something special, that is something unique. This is really a reason for having feeling proud about oneself, feeling proud with oneself, having made an effort to actually like the person who engages in harmful actions. So for special confidence or pride, there's a real reason for generating such when we like this kind of person.
다 가르쳐버려. 질 다 최근에 가인의 비중도 처바되는 기기도 시에다. 다 사버도 아닌 세마기버 용대에다. 혼조사에다. 타도하다. 이 탐지기 자마 대주는 되샤를 두고도스. 다디 가장 계제돼서 중요해 가지니. 다 되샤를 리무이다 뭐 싶으시어디. 디 탐지기에 자야 마 투조는 아니 마세들 차. 나디 달려 보통 계치무 자치무 싶으시 지제. 다라 차버들 토대여스. 다디 내수디 중대 오나 다 인생군도 다 개치고 싶었지대기 아니 나세디 정신 컨디지레도 세기 신주제 내용이 신의 때는 답이 된데 이 개제들 내용 거 나세디 풍고를 때는 답아 모두 풍고를 로스민도 세야더보다 나디 제가 주나 아니 유기 되는 얘기민도 마타 마치 빌로라 샤르 정기 토는 샤야레 세야더보 된데기 다 때는 답이 된데디 도스 내용 거
So in general, when we say that the phenomena arise from the coming together or from a collection of different causes and conditions. So if that being the case, now with regard to negative states of mind, with regard to not being happy, being unhappy, being competitive, jealous, and so forth, all these states of mind, the causes, or one of the main causes of those states of mind, those negative awarenesses, is desire or attachment, a desirous attachment. So there are many different types of desirous attachment, but the cause of all those different types of desirous attachment is attachment to the self, considering oneself to be extremely precious. And in that way, considering oneself being very precious, therefore one has a special type of attachment with regard to the self. So then when we investigate this kind of self, which we're attached to day and night, 24 hours a day, if we start to examine the nature of that self, we come to see that it exists independent, it exists independent on imputation. It merely exists by way of being designated. So it is designated on the basis of the aggregates without existing as separate from the aggregate, as a separate entity from the aggregate. So in the sense it is labeled, it is merely designated, and upon searching for the self among the aggregates, there's nothing that can be found. Upon engaging in that ultimate kind of examination, one doesn't find anything. And so the self is merely appearing. It is an entity, it's a phenomenon that merely appears to the mind.
Tene gyuyengi tenje tile page nani datso nang shebe kang shaung du tsane gyuyen tile ring mi dawang lenji chi yin se chi da nyelen se chi ring che ta tenje gi thone samna ta du tsane en cheba cheung du ta nyelen ya de du du en shebe gi thoma di ta nyelen ka res shinju cheung du en tile en di moma gi shebe chi ko go dos di gi thone en kyawa ngama sa kyawa chima yin nam sha tile 아니 교황 같이 남샤들이 차비체다 아니 교 시방감에 땡기다 이거 담에다 디왕기 시부 치마라 아니 디도 용에 교도 조고레스 세에게 아니 렌제기 남샤디 때 렌제기 남샤디 14로 조는데 아니 교황 같이 다 렌제기 남샤디 되는 거
Now with regard to dependent arising from the point of view of causes and conditions, talk about the causes, the internal causes, the main causes are twofold. There are the cooperative conditions and the substantial causes. So in this way we talk about causes and conditions by way of those two. If there's a cause or a condition, it is either the cooperative condition or the substantial cause of the phenomenon. And in particular with regard to a substantial cause, the substantial cause of mind or of awareness, when we trace it back, we'll find an earlier moment of consciousness. And then this mind, if we trace the earlier substantial cause of that, again, we find another consciousness. So in that way, we come to understand previous lives. So the existence of previous life, since every consciousness must be preceded by a former moment, which is its substantial cause. And in that way we can also establish past and future lives. So future lives and past lives both. And not just this, but also considering the fact that an earlier consciousness, whatever capacity an earlier consciousness had, whatever comes from that earlier consciousness, gives rise to a later consciousness. So in that sense, that explains the law of karma. This refers to the law of karma here. So this therefore means that when we talk about interdependence or dependent arising from the point of view of causes and conditions, and we take it to a subtler level, it takes us to an understanding of past and future lives, as well as an understanding of the law of karma.
Tina Shinta, Tente Tungi Momadi, Nasatawina, Tiawadi, Tangunjinchi, and Tungi Tempa, and a Tiku, Kunjun Tempas, Tungi, Kuda Tribuni, and a Yanda Vitewa, 180, and a Karis Munzichini, Kotin, Tiku Lamdenchini, Tewa Tribeki, Kuntini, 동행이 돈이 굉장히 지금 대버시 넘샤데 다 된지 심주치네 도스레 거라.
Likewise, if we consider, we examine or contemplate dependent arising, that contemplation likewise takes us to the fact that when we experience a kind of suffering or a disease, any kind of problem such as a disease, well, that is considered to be suffering, a truth of suffering, which has its cause in the origin of suffering. So those two have a cause and effect relationship, the truth of suffering and the truth of the origin of suffering. And then from the point of view of actual happiness, that which is actual happiness, well, that takes us to an understanding of the truth of cessation, and then the cause of that being the truth of the path. So here you have two sets of cause and effect, or two sets that have a cause and effect relationship. The suffering, the truth of suffering is the truth of the origin of suffering, and then the second set is the truth of the path and the truth of the cessation.
지금다 디나신지기 아니 외베네출의 심주디 tilchim을 제용된 대번이기 넘샤다 대번이기 넘샤 유바 딜라테네 아니 람탑시니 퇴용에 딜라테네 제부군이 조조에 대제기 넘샤지.
Likewise, with regard to examining reality, examining how phenomena really exist, well, one comes to consider the presentation of the true truth. So the basis of the true truth. And then from there, one comes to understand the path of the method and wisdom, which then leads to the resultant state of the two kayas of the Buddha.
지금 베타줍던 제네니 잠민지 로전에 기제시오도 베타줍스는 다 된지 차대요. 배 교원하시다 렌제기 따와 딜을 때네 아니 문도 줘야지. 지 양 대시기 넘샤다 때네 다로 줘야지. 뭐지? 아니 시된 번이 남탑시 제부 꾸니 넘샤 딜을 때네 아니 산지고 줘야지. 디지도 전에 따줍 딜을 때네 다나 배치기 다 미유저고 가르쳐 고대세네면도 제부시네면도 여느 미유시네면도 디 가르쳐줘서나 가장 얘기를 시에디 세들 다 심시대 주게 다 교화마시다 렌제기 따로 되게 돈에 세치만 기타 교화상부 주도에 아니 디체네 아니 바기 타고 주게 아니 사지고 마 주게 다 미유시도 차도로 와.
So therefore, from the point of view of the Buddhist view, taking into consideration the Buddhist view, so here with regard to love, caring attitude and so forth, so then from there we take it to an understanding of past and future lives and the law of karma. So through those two, an understanding of the law, an understanding of past and future lives as well as the law of karma, that leads to higher rebirth, or rebirth in fortunate states in a future lifetime. And then thereafter, considering the Four Noble Truths, well, that takes one to liberation. And then upon considering the basis of the true truth, and then the path of method and wisdom, and then the resultant state of the true bodies of a Buddha, well, that takes one to the omniscient or enlightened state of a Buddha. So in that way, when we talk about the goals, if you like, or the purpose, or the result of Buddhist practice from the point of view of the Buddhist view, then those are the three. And then previously, Geshe-la also included the methods to obtaining happiness in this lifetime, to obtaining happiness and peace in this lifetime. So then including this explanation, so happiness in this lifetime, plus independence on past and future lives and the law of karma, the understanding of rebirth in higher states in the future, and then liberation and enlightenment. So it comes down to four kinds of goals, that are being set forth.
경고를 무시기다 책비전화에 되는 책디 순거 규진기 텐데디기 토네 몬토르 그레스 몬토르 뒤다 사담이다 간제 사담이장 간제 리덴상보다 아니 번조론제다 어떻게 다 텐데기 디기 아니 규진기 텐데기 토네 몬토르 그레스 때는 답이 텐데디기 토네 니레투 그레스 니레 타바다 디투 그레스 타바라가 디다 타바투 그레스 디순거도.
So, as His Holiness usually says, so the words that His Holiness used, or the way His Holiness explains it, is independence on interdependence or dependent arising from the point of view of cause and effect, of causes and conditions. Independence on that type of dependent arising, one attains higher states. In other words, one is reborn in the future either as a human being or a celestial being. Or in other words, one is reborn with a positive kind of body, a relative wealth. One doesn't lack objects of enjoyment and so forth. And then, from the point of view of interdependence or dependent arising, from the point of view of being being designated interdependently designated. So that understanding leads to what is called the definite good, or in other words, liberation.
다 디니가 초덤니 산지고 반주부리시지 정원은 미치 공부를 나 초월다 무슨도 고마스.
So taking those two types of dependent arising and combining them together, then that would therefore mean combining those two takes a person to enlightenment. Although His Holiness doesn't say that, but that is implied, and His Holiness explaining those two in the way just mentioned. So therefore, those two in combination lead to enlightenment.
그래서는 텐제기 도기 대시지 준비 정문을 미치디 숨을 유진기 텐제 통화를 때네 아니 탑시기 념네들이 딜라테네 산지기 수구투 때네다비 텐제 통화를 때네 시럽기 념네들이 딜라테네 산지기 수구투 디테시디 준거 유진기 텐제 통화를 때네 이제 수이 텐제 통화의 최통호스 수이 최통화의 산지 통호스 책디가 도나 지금 산지 통세의 산지 토벌을 고쳐버려. 지금 다 수익 규진기 때문에 통화대 최에는 점용지 전주기 셈. 냐면 제 얘기를 했어. 수익에는 최디 통화대 산지 통화수도 산지기 수구 토버스. 디나시 수익 때문에 답이 때문에 통화대 아니 최 라심에 봤다 동반이 통화스. 수익 동반이 통화대 아니 산지 다 추구 아니 토버스. 정말 미치디 증대 도스킨 거.
So, why is that the case with regard to the letter explanation of those two in combination? Well, that is because in the sutra on dependent arising, His Holiness usually explains the sutra to mean that independence on, if one in reliance on the understanding of dependent arising from the point of view of causes and conditions, independence on that type of dependent arising, one is able to, one engages in the method side of the practice, in the practice of compassion and so forth, which then leads to the form body or the rupakaya of a Buddha. Whereas on the other hand, if one engages in the practice that pertains to dependent arising from the point of view of being dependently imputed, from the point of view of that type of dependent arising, one generates wisdom, and that wisdom then leads to the dharmakaya of a Buddha. So therefore, as it says in this particular sutra, in the sutra on dependent arising, it says that whoever sees dependent arising will see the Dharma. Whoever sees the Dharma will see the Buddha. But here the word see can also mean obtains the Buddha. So in other words, whoever sees dependent arising, so dependence on dependent arising, one generates love, compassion, bodhicitta. And then in dependence on Dharma, in other words here, Dharma means the lack of inherent existence. So in dependence on that, realizing emptiness, so dependence on the Dharma, therefore one attains the Dharmakaya of a Buddha.
진짜 따주 디게 토네 다 점민지 로장에 기지 신도 녀다 따주 거를 이치래 걸어. 따주 거는 경쟁 통의 이치 야고지 내나 신의 디게 토네 점민지 발로 정리전에 누가 된 거로. 따주 거를 이치 떼실래나 로장에 된 누가 떼시 된 거래. 따주 거를 이치 켜내면은 디게 토네 로장인데 가는 교육서 잡지마도 그 누가 돼요 말.
So with regard to the view, the Buddhist view here, so in order for love and compassion to arise in one's continuum, one first needs to generate some belief, some faith in the Buddhist view. By way of reasons, by way of different reasonings, one then generates faith, one generates belief. And if one has a little faith, well then the strength of one's love and compassion will be small, and if it's greater, then it will be greater. So in accordance to one's faith, the strength of one's faith, that will then, in accordance to that, lead to stronger types of love and compassion.
지선 따주 뒤를 녀는 시 땡부지 그들 전에 다 녀를 다 교황같이 시설지 되네 교황같이 렌제기 남샤레電子 남샤레 다 산제기 시대니 될라되는 주타레 대길라데 디게디 아니 금생이 돈의 신주 제고나 다 뒤지 먹고 따는 것도 뒤지 통동나다 뒤제 되지 차요 말 제자다 베네타 교황같이 렌제리 된데 남샤레요 거스고리 dünya 증인이나 슈고디바야 뒤지라시기로 다다다 페지디 진주지에디 레그말 교황아시를 렌데레 된시레 다다다 가수바마다 말 아니 퇴사와다 마오바 퇴고교와다 삼마탄 디기톤에 점인지를 봐 가데가데 제로이 테스트싱이 티슈인.
So with regard to generating or obtaining ascertainment, understanding or ascertainment of the view, well, usually the way to attain such ascertainment, so the Buddhist view, in order to ascertain against such ascertainment here, first one needs to consider or understand past and future lives and the law of karma. And then thereafter one needs to gain an understanding of the Four Noble Truths. And then on the basis, the true truth, the method, the path, method, and wisdom, and so forth. So in that way, one needs to go gradually and gain understanding of these different concepts, which takes a lot of time. So it's impossible to explain those in a short time. So with regard to past and future lives and karma, it's possible that we get together at some later point and discuss this. But for the time here now, what Geshe-la will talk about here is in particular the generation or the cultivation of love and compassion. How to bring forth love and compassion in the context or in the pertaining to the or in the context of the Buddhist view.
당에다 밖에 가장 이마 고른 자산지 좋아하시 다 신체 버지에디 신의 팬비심기에디 신변 주베디 이 수술하다 같이 팽기레스 다 체디 계제디 다 조사하지 다디 계지신 온데 전에 아니 밖에다 렌제 이놈샤가는 계지 되시자고 와 디지도 전에 신체 버지마이나 신의 아니 저밖에바이나 신의 닝지께바이나 신변 주바이나 말사비 디보다도 그랬어 디순거 심진남나 잠베 레다 교르스 상이 중에 대랑이 심진라 정지 심께오나 말사기 디보다 그래스 어떤 순거.
So with regard to first with regard to this, therefore, first we need to talk about the kind of sequence. We need to discuss the sequence of how to generate these types of awareness. So when we talk about cherishing others, when we talk about the wish to benefit others, so we already discussed this early on, how having those types of minds, having those types of consciousness, how they help us in this lifetime. However, then taking it to a different level, here from the point of view of the presentation of the law of karma, well, benefiting others, having the intention to benefit others, in other words, love and compassion, cherishing others. So they will help us to purify negative karma we've accumulated in the past. So this is something that has been said by the Buddha himself, saying, if we cherish sentient beings, negative karma will be purified.
아니 도지 나로라 아니 상계시가 더버 최송디지도 답이 신금시다 상계신금시다 답신다 같이 독자들이 매딩이 된전에 저주sem받더니 뭐부츠 최슈가 배고를 지지용이던데 어디디가라 아니 된지 조gin시도 거기 상계도서이 상계시가 더비 신금디 다 밑에서 같이 빼줘면 뭐다 독자요레스 삽사체고레스 이거 맞지 어디디 송거 디송디 잘했다 다 디나다스 karlawarta sangi shingam matabali ta dindi che tu thayonde ane sangi gi matabi shingam de ke dingin gi chanchi semba tu solta ke mo botegre nyum ke tibosa ke mo botegre de ine tesang gi shibu shina che go mares wan tani tibosa nang so dholo ta shina shibu che go mare karesena ngi shu chenbu ji ke den chi la ya ane tibo mambo pe ni so ne kyo mo 인송의 기에 디버드스 잠비슨 사지 기용도 다루레스 셈솔로 어디서.
So in one of the sutras the Buddha talked about, he gave a teaching and he talked about the pure realms, like the pure realms which are free from any kind of they're free from many of the negative kind of aspects that one finds in other states. So in those pure realms, a lot of bodhisattvas come together in those places. Through their magical emanations, they're able to come together and receive teachings there. And then there are the impure states, those states where there's a lot of negative. So the Buddha basically warned, he said, well, be careful of those states, be careful of those places. But he's saying, despite that, so although there's a lot of negative, but for those beings here, for those beings who are practitioners, they don't really need to be too worried. They don't need to have too much worry with regard to negative emotions leading them to, or afflictions, causing them to be reborn in the lower realms. Why? Because just merely once generating compassion, generating bodhicitta or love, that will purify a lot of negativity. So for those who have those states of mind, they don't need to be worried too much about these negativities in the sense that they can purify them by generating those positive types of awareness.
디바타비 탑 소문도 전에 산제레 진주 개버도 저기래 덥시스니 순거 덥시기 토네 디나로네 당고 땡기 덥시에디 네 심전의 점링지 디지에다 군조를 점조제 디 금생가르에서나 디바사스기 시디 야나 군조를 꾸러왔다 디바사에 야나 심전의 뇌체진의 디바사에 디 인도전에 점조제디 군조를 땡 사비 디바디 바다에제 ane simchen de chamning ji che de simchen de ta nu si che gi ti bo de ta ye ti chi du ta ti le ting gi to le di ane sa la ma ri na ya na ye de sa pharang le ten na ngo ro o ti na shin simchen de ten di ba sa ba yin sa ti ta ye de simchen pharang le ten chamning ji che ba le ten kunjo le ten di ba sa ba yin sa ti ye kunjo pharang le ten ting gi to le ti re o ti chi du ten gi to le ting gi to be to ne ki ji she ba yin na ti ba ta be na lo le ti sun yo re.
Now, with regard to the methods of purifying negativities, of purifying non-virtuous actions, so as described by the Buddhas, by the masters of the past, so they describe 4 powers. So one engages in purification by way of 4 powers. And the first power is described as the power of support. It's usually described as the power of the support. Or support, in the sense that the support in this case is love and compassion, so generating love and compassion, or generating refuge. So the reason for those two, as the supporting kind of power, why does one generate love and compassion or refuge? The reason being, in most cases when we accumulate non-virtue, when we engage in negative actions, Either they're in relation to the three jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, by denigrating the three jewels, or they're in relation to sentient beings, by harming sentient beings. And so therefore, taking refuge as the supporting power here, or the power of support, this is becomes one of the antidotal forces from the point of view of denigrating the three jewels, whereas from the point of view of harming sentient beings, we generate love and compassion. And the reason for calling them support, why are they called support? It's support because in the same way, if we slip on the soil, if we slip on the earth, on the ground, we need the ground to get up again. So this is the support. Although we slip, we fall over on the ground, but it's also the ground that helps us to get up again. Likewise, if we accumulate non-virtue in relation to sentient beings, we need to also purify these negativities in relation to sentient beings. Or if we accumulate negativities in relation to the three jewels, we need to also purify these negative actions in relation to the three jewels. So it's just like when we slip on the ground, we need the ground to lift ourselves up as a support, which is why this is called the power of support. And then one power of the four powers of purification is regret. So regretting any negative actions that we've accumulated previously. So when we first generate the power of support, in other words, if we first generate love and compassion towards sentient beings, then regret the understanding that what we did before, that the harmful actions we engaged in with regard to sentient beings, that this is not okay, that arises naturally. So therefore, by generating love and compassion towards sentient beings, regret with regard to having harmed them previously will arise naturally. So likewise, if we generate love and compassion, we also generate the determination from now on, I will not engage in those negative actions again. So we generate this resolve to not engage in negative actions again. Why? Because due to love and compassion, so we want to benefit others. We want to be of welfare, we want to be of benefit to others. And we don't want to we do not want to harm them any longer, or bully them, steal from them, deceive them, and so forth. So basically, therefore, so through love and compassion, we kind of stop any kind of negative actions. Having generated love and compassion, then that stops our harmful, or stops harmful actions, or engaging in harmful actions in the future. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this that by way of through generating love and compassion, we purify any kind of negativities, any negative actions we've accumulated in the past, and basically close the door to engaging in negative actions in the future. And in that way, we're not reborn. We also close the door to the lower realms. And thus, our practice of love and compassion protects us from being reborn in these lower realms, and rather takes us to a positive kind of state, enables us to, or causes us to be reborn in a fortunate state.
재미지 슈침부 깨나다 아자자 되게 잠바 친구니지 친구 심지 담제 딘디 깨나다 시험하지 충중지 깨가 있네 되게 다 변도 용돼야지 단다 양대기 도나로는 요지지 거야 이제 된다 현다지 송딜을 빼지 그렇지 아니 아마지다 보모지 추나 추 친구지 깨는 저기 아니 네가 추기 지기다 아마 뺏사송다 아마 마중을 꽤 마중을 제나 나 같이는 제삼바제 지기 보모 뺏사서 보모 다루잖아 나 같이는 제 인지도 깨야지 네가 살을 깨res 저 시간은 원해지는 수수이니에 로 뒤에 심진 지그래 레디 시간은 드리게 되게 아니 가서 달리 집에 주저에 송구도
So, in particular, also with regard to the time of death, so from the point of view of future lives, the time of death is considered to be really important. The state of mind one generates at the time of death is considered to be essential. So, at the time of death, if we are able to generate a little love and compassion, that's said to be extremely beneficial. So leaving aside great compassion, leaving aside, so we don't even need to mention the great benefit of generating a lot of love and compassion, generating great love, generating great compassion. We do not even need to mention the benefit of that. But even generating a little love, a little compassion can have a great benefit, can lead to a very positive rebirth. And this is something that is described in the Nirvana Sutra. In the Nirvana Sutra, it talks about, it actually gives, what Gena will explain here now, is just an example for something else. It's just cited as an example. But the example here is of a mother and a daughter trying to cross a river. And then they're carried away by the current, by the strong current of the river. And in the case of the daughter, she's very worried about the mother. She's thinking, oh my God, I hope my mother may my to get out of the water. And in the same case, the mother is thinking, may my daughter be safe, may she be safe, may she be able to get out of the water. So this kind of caring attitude in both cases led to both the mother and the daughter being reborn in the celestial realm. So even though this is due to, though they have a close relationship and they're relatives, but nonetheless their kind of attitude, wishing for the other to be safe, that kind of wish just before their death became the cause for them to be reborn in the celestial realm.
That dinashin don't know in the number in the needs of your.
So likewise,
you want on the gauge, and it gave you got a ninja shoot up which again. And it done what in the to me young way, the Tibasabi change it, that the good in the starting and change it. 이것 인지사딩 참막이 참 얘기용제 아니 미수지 등친지 동네들이 마요 쇼스 니 타반의 심지기요데 기지들다 원해지는 그 분담도 되고의 강인 용고에 되고 세지 아니 사리기비들이 남다르들이 또 나로라 가능지요.
So there are different kind of stories of like kind of life stories of different groups. So two life stories that talk about the power of love and compassion. So one story or both stories are about someone being reborn in the hell realm and then generating very strong compassion for others. So reflecting upon the fact that they were reborn in the hell realm due to the non-virtuous actions they accumulated in the past. And then they generate this wish that whatever non-virtue has been accumulated by others, may that ripen upon me so that they do not have to take rebirth in the hell realm, but that may ripen upon me. So they generated such strong compassion in their continuum. So from the depth of their heart, they felt this very strong compassion for others. And right away, after generating that heartfelt compassion for others, they were reborn in the celestial realms. So there are two life stories, or two stories like that mentioned in the sutra.
지사당이 손에 타래다 백이 교화지만 유딘상 보유에게 답이었쇼 단 직니지 잘루다.
So from the point of view of being freed from or being liberated from the lower realms and instead having a fortunate kind of rebirth, well, this is brought about by great compassion. So great compassion is one of the main causes for those results.
这是我做能力下巴经验当，等这个在地方某个啥人，他下巴经验大头经验的的，安尼一家啥学，茶啥学，这些嘛的研究工学些，这些的其他用的，我那现在研究工学的需切学了，但研究工当嘛新年这个对不有呢，没一家对的过来的都是接头了，但的嘛新年这个接头有，但的第一团的送下就的新年这个当年工新年。아니 때때 돈이 배쳤다니 상담도 로싱이 아니 인지 겁나 때때 신경지게 제단이야 지구지게 제월 디 다다시도 되입니다. 오늘제는 다 디바 너무 싸싸서 샤버치고도 시디 때때 인지 뭐지 광고에 되지는.
So when we talk about purifying, so the methods to purifying negativities, usually the methods described are the Vajrasattva, 100-syllable mantra of Vajrasattva, or doing prostration. So those usually are described as methods. But actually, meditation on compassion is considered to be a lot more beneficial. It's considered to be a lot more powerful in terms of purifying negativities. So usually it is said that those who do not know to meditate on compassion, but who have faith, that they should engage in those practices, the doing prostrations and so forth. And then with regard to someone meditating on emptiness, for example, so reading a lot of scriptures, etc. So these are also considered to be methods to purification, meditating on emptiness, reading the different scriptures and so forth. But then instead, in order to overcome a lot of negativities, we could just very relaxed, in a very relaxed fashion, just sit back and meditate on compassion as a method to purify negativities.
디나신 단다디 뭐 인제 정원으로 디어레 침배 로지 튕기듯이 침배기 땅에 에너 로지 요에 수령송이 된돌게 된디수수수 송에 타들 인제의 된근 주스 인지기 통면 미치데 삼된 주베 저 인지 수침을 제는 수수 삼된 주제 카두에 된디송요레 지당기 양 신당 거래되는 시바이네 되게 나와는 인지 기용도 수능 시부지사 디버 시부지다 디바다 소놈사나 아니 수수 삼대상 주주고 디디 토니 시바이네 삼대 주베라다 바기 니버치쇼 인지르다 담아시 비지 칭에 메르마도 오늘제나 거기 총남도 조금도 시네 아니 남세다 디디 양도 담아데 다 디치도 니버카신 지고잖아 지제는 비도 채워이 지르 다 이네디 라레게 디칭에 메요
So likewise it is
냠냠도 용으로
so with regard to the Ratnavali, Nagarjuna's Ratnavali, so here you find this verse from giving their resources, from moral conduct there is happy transmigration. So there's these two lines, and a little further down it basically says that directly says that by generating or by meditating on compassion, one is able to fulfill one's wishes. So this is directly explained in this case, and another occasion or in another passage, it says that by meditating on compassion, one accumulates merit, and this merit then purifies negativities, and then eventually leads to the fulfillment of one's wishes. So this would also be very effective for those who are salespeople, those business people who want to be successful in their business, instead of doing practices such as relying on so they kind of buy a precious vase, like in order to make there are certain rituals that they go through in order to have a successful business, or in order to be successful in their business. Instead, they could just meditate on compassion to be more successful.
但是这些做生意人其实对政府非常
마기 숑 딘데 나로라 딘데 레소 타메타 투베다 안에 산지 전주세 말씀에 이동 딘데 투베 거든데 요러 디졸레다 니버 텐쇼디 다 잠니지 차데 요러 그래서는 나나 루지나레디 요레 파리 바바타메 이 루추니 진짜 보고 못더니 아니 다디타 다싱카야 뭐주무제 담아데다 아니 페디자네 아니 도티 레기 게 가르치 기본마무지 아니 페디치니 아니 부기 메디 부기 사테바체 강이시고 테데바체 시네 닝지 숙침부 제제 다 부디 메바마스나 키라강에테 부메바스나 다 부츠되바이나 다 부디 시조도스는 니가 닝지 숙침부 다 답시 가리요레스네 아니 수수 라셰 제제 지기 제 아니 라셰기 샤디 파샤 안 부디다 라샤가 샤야다 라베체나 라버츠부지 부디 시조서르스네 제레기 전당도 수치니 메베타네 부디레 가져도 아니 요마레 아니 신의 지도 잡고 제로 진짜 아니 제네 닝이 다다버도 딘디칼레잖아 그냥 시스마소스 디슈디잖아 아니 그냥 당부 고츠되는 게 그냥 틀리스 이네 그냥 리틱이 통도고 말해 근데 저는 인지 숙침을 깨버디 아니 디버다 아니 신의 통바레스 이네 송도 다들 때문에 아니 간데다 배 아니 다다 참치대 마시에 서 바바타메 디우진다 다다가 저로서 제대 직도를 규버데.
So likewise, it is explained in the different tantric texts, in the different tantric scriptures. It also talks about the activity, like the activity of like bodhisattvas or of practitioners when they do the yida practice, when they do the practice of the meditation of deity. That one of the most powerful methods is to generate love and compassion. And likewise, there are stories like the story of Asanga, for instance, who tried to meet Maitreya, who engaged in extended period of time over 12 years, extensive meditation in order to be able to have a vision of Maitreya and receive teachings from him. And over those 12 years, he didn't receive any signs. So Geshe-la says he will tell the story. I'll give you a shorter version of that because his throat is acting up, so he's losing his voice a little. So therefore, the story goes that after those 12 years, he was Asanga was left the cave upon not seeing Maitreya, being kind of desperate, and all he saw was what he saw on the street was this female dog that was affected by worms. So the whole body of this dog was affected by these worms, and so and this dog experienced a lot of problems as a result of these worms. And so Sangha, upon seeing this, generated great compassion for this dog, but at the same time also for the worms. And so he came up with he thought of this ingenious idea of how to remove the worms from the flesh of the dog without hurting the dog nor hurting the worms. So he cut off a piece of flesh from his thigh, and then the plan was to transfer the worms, the maggots or the worms, from the flesh of the dog to the flesh of his thigh, so that they didn't die, that the worms don't die. But he couldn't do so with his hands because he would have killed the worms. So he took his own tongue. He took his own tongue to transfer the worms from the flesh of the dog to the flesh of his thigh. And as he took the first worm and he looked up, there was no longer a dog, but he saw Maitreya directly. So he had a direct vision of Maitreya. And then he asked, upon seeing Maitreya, he asked Maitreya, "Why didn't you appear to me earlier? I meditated on you for 12 years. And I was not able to have a vision of you." And so Maitreya's response was, "Well, I was there the whole time as you were meditating, but it was due to your karmic obstructions that you were unable to see me. And it was compassion, it was due to the strong compassion you generated for the dog and for the worms or the maggots that these obstructions were purified." And thereafter, Asanga went to Shikhapuram to receive the teachings, the 5 texts by Maitreya, the lineage of which we are still studying nowadays.
Tende lhatuwe ta tende korte mashinga ki tuan nungorwa 이 남바자마인 뭐 힌두래 요래 힌두기 나라와 주주에다 장주주에다 된데 기지요 진짜 된데 주에 치도 힌두기 루주나의 연구도 서도 뭐지기 단다기 추숨도 주문가가다 야문나세 야나도 추심을 쓰면 다군제 자심지 추디숨네 아니 추스 주 뭔가 이제 아니 사실 다른 거지 요새 다 제대로다 된지 배우가다 어디를 디키 공부점 저 다음은 보관했던 저 파게들 다 사원 주기 디지요 다 된지 어디도 어디를 두고 왔다 디지는 사원 주기 다 진기라 그래서 கொஞ்ச 이제 뒤에 제가 사도 못 되지는 저희 값이다 아니 사도 지야 되지는 저도 다 나가라 아니 디 파게 원주기 내 요새기 나가디 이거 진행이 살아 은 잡아만 잡아지 아니 미모고 뭐게 돼 에스임젠도 추배버지 니 디체 강에테 어떻게 되지 뭐 보여도 다 서두신다도 소이나 다 다와 뭐 갈리지 내차로 가서 니모 먹고 딘다고 딘다니 숨는데 다 추디 제 말로 다 사셔버려다 추디 되게 이 dinge 서두지 인지 전부제 다 되게 생진지 싫어지는 그 추면에 배 싫어지는 다 삼아 먹었다 다 디추디 마테나 코시도고도서 제나니서 공부점이 배다지 마신스 공부점이 뒤치도 요래 당 얘기다 지던디 다 요해디요 말해서 나 사람 뭐지 단에 타마들 다 심지어 뒤치에디 다 초래서네 코랑이 무주 주에디 뢰다 아니 추데스 요바데 다티 나치시기도 어디를 떼셔도 디테 차와다 라원지 띵을 내어서 저런 무주 가리고 것도
So, from the point of view of the view of Tantra, well, there's Buddhist Tantra, but there's also Hindu Tantra. So there's also Hindu Tantra. So many of the sadhus, they practice the different meditational deities of the Hindu pantheon. And so the sadhus also, what they do is, as part of their practice, as a kind of preparatory kind of practice, there are three kind of sacred rivers in India. So the Ganga, the Yamuna, and so forth. So there are three rivers. So the practice is that one should take water from those three sacred rivers and put them in a bath. And then go to a faraway place. It takes a few months to get there. It's a place somewhere in a desert area. And then in that area, there's a special kind of place associated with Ishvara. And one should bring the water from these three sacred rivers and place the vase there, or pour some of the water at this special place that is associated with Ishvara. And in that way, one obtains special blessings which are beneficial for one's practice. So at one point, there were several sadhus on the road trying to bring the water that they had collected from the three rivers, trying to bring it to this place that is associated with Ishvara. And as they were traveling to this particular place, there was a drought, and a lot of people, a lot of humans, a lot of animals were dying of thirst, of not getting food, of thirst, etc. And most of the sadhus, upon seeing those beings dying of thirst, well, they decided they'll just continue on with their journey, because they'd spent so much time on the road trying to get to that place. They weren't going to give away that water that they had collected. But there was one sadhu who was undecided. He wasn't sure, should he give it? He encountered a person who was starved or was dying of thirst, so he was tempted to give the water to this person. But then again he thought, oh no, I want to get to this place of Ishvara, so I better keep the water and not give it to this person. But in the end, out of compassion, he decided to give the water to this person who suffered from thirst. And as he gave the water to that person, then Ishvara arose. So out of his compassion, Ishvara then manifested and gave him the blessings, gave him the necessary blessings that he needed for his practice.
然后当把水给这个众生的时候呢，那个大自在天就现身了。其实这个众生就是大自在的化身，然后大自在的天因为他内在的升起对众生是慈悲，大自在的天现身之后就问他说，问这个修行人说，你想要什么成就？
这张我给拿到了，等着我这主要忙不去预备送我的，订拿到了这张，安尼具体拿到了。我你们今年忙不要的，我这主要民用嘛的面都卡接的是，这个地连的了，可惜就说明拿了，这人家不当我的是，早这个了土地要的是，等着送来。
So in the scriptures, it talks about gaining high realizations or gaining realizations independent on the tantric practice. But in one tantra, someone asks the question, how come that there's so few, despite there are so many beings practicing tantra, how come there are only very few who obtain realizations through tantric practice? And the response to that question is that they lack compassion. So they don't have sufficient, that practitioners have not sufficient compassion, and therefore they do not obtain tantric realizations.
但老板都三节国主品写给他没有他的三节国主品写这个写本的，但年纪的他，将年纪的他，有那越南人呢，他决定做，但的差我了。
So, in particular, with regard to obtaining the state of a Buddha, love and compassion are necessary, are indispensable. So, without love and compassion, one cannot attain the state of a Buddha. So, they're the main kind of awareness that takes one to Buddhahood.
但第几节的写我的在呢，就是他强迫的年纪整个几节没把些，他强迫进步的年纪进步是他。
But when talking about the cause to enlightenment, one no longer speaks of just love and compassion, but rather of great love and great compassion. So great love and great compassion as the main causes to Buddhahood.
So when we talk about great compassion here, with regard to here the focus of great compassion is sentient beings, all sentient beings. And wishing for all sentient beings to be free from suffering. This is what great compassion refers to. So it doesn't just refer to an awareness that wishes for some sentient beings to be free from suffering. So one or two sentient beings. No, it wishes for all sentient beings to be free from suffering. So all sentient beings here include one's enemy, one's friend, the people one doesn't know, good people, bad people, good living beings, bad living beings, and so forth. So in other words, this type of awareness focuses on all sentient beings. That the to me chung that Madarojena, Mashirojena, Kadikij Tensei Remima, to me Tadali Janasame, that Nabegone and Yachimacharua.
So here also with regard to the suffering one wishes others to be free from, it doesn't refer to some minor suffering such as the suffering of sickness or the suffering of death, but rather one wishes for sentient beings, for all sentient beings to be free from all types of suffering. So this is here from the point of view of, this is the unique kind of Buddhist compassion that one wishes for sentient beings to be free from all types of suffering.
That Tinashin Chabachimbo City doesn't get until a minute. They were Tada de Nasiji, Digi, and me what another Jachimuchi.
Likewise, when we talk about great love, with regard to great love, so one focuses on all sentient beings and wishes for all sentient beings to have all happiness.
That the Dichabachi user Koran Tungi Tada le Tarol Gurchi Sejora Dida Tungi Tada le 탈바디 얘기 자오라는 하상과 도샤로 디니 바라들라 동에 타달레 얘기 그 동에 타달레 교토를 쇼 세지 라바이나 하상 강나에 다들 깨지게 되는 거지 뭐놈체 야 저기 코랑 타나 세 계제 뒤에 매버체 디니 바라들라 디케지 시험에 관해서는 코랑 동에 심지 탐지 코랑 동에 타로 주식 세어서 배진이랑 나 요청과 다 탈바디 얘기 자오라니까 인지를 개네 인지디 슈체로 지내 다섯 번 그러셔와 다 인주 타로 주식 쓰면은 임바치다 자로 주식 딱 얘기 건조 아니 갸토를 쇼세 면함들 레고도 아니 페이지 사슴내 말레버지 이런 기능지레 세딜레 게 인지지 메트로선 땡
So when we talk about here the wish for someone, for other sentient beings to be free from suffering, so there's a sense of for all sentient beings, may they be free from suffering. How wonderful they be free. May they be free from suffering. And then the wish, may all sentient beings, so may I myself lead all sentient beings to the state that is free from suffering. So this basically here, the compassion we're talking about here, it comes down to the special altruistic attitude. In other words, it connects to the special altruistic attitude. So from the point of view of just wishing, thinking how wonderful it would be if sentient beings were free from suffering, or may they be free from suffering. So these types of awareness, these types of consciousness can be also found in the continuum of Shravakas, that is hearers, or Pratyeka Buddhas, that is solitary realizers. So from the point of view of those practitioners, hearers and solitary realizers, they also generate the wish of how wonderful it would be, may they be free from suffering. But what is unique here to practitioners of the universal Veda, of the Mahayana here, would be that I myself will do something about it. So that special altruistic, that special kind of attitude, that I myself will free sentient beings from suffering. That makes it unique, and that takes it beyond the compassion one finds in the continuum of hearers and solitary realizers.
다 뒤에 슈체를 치니 아니 뭐는 뒤에 슈체를 줘도 다 알아라니 지긴 세게 내 학습체 동네 탐지다 대화 탐지 대화 알아라니 지긴 세지 다 뒤에 거기 로하시지 뒤겐디 기긴 아니 교와 하시지 긴기 계자만 이거지 감 세기 보도 심지 참음 마타기 보도 니 뒤겐디 기긴 세게 민도 뒤기어도 학습체
So, therefore, the wish for others to be free from suffering, how wonderful they be free, may they be free. So this kind of prayer, one strengthens this to the degree that I myself will do it. I myself will bring this about. So this takes it to the level of the altruistic, that is the special attitude. And this is not only for, so this wish to do so, the wish for oneself to free sentient beings is not just over over a period of 1 year or one lifetime, but rather until the end of space, or until the end of space, one will work towards liberating sentient beings from suffering. So as long as space endures, one works for the benefit of others, or one works towards that goal.
디간라다 심슈점 기계자 많이 버지는 운에랑 얘기 제투베지 요리요 말에 심슈기는 무제형도 제투베지 요바 이시상 제바이나 아니 심제 탐제를 다로 제투베지 요바 통네 다 상계제 아니 심제 탐제 배버지기 삼바디 다 전주심 세네다 디차데
So it's not just that one generates this wish or this determination, this strength of heart to do so, but one also investigates, is it possible for me to do so? Can I actually benefit all sentient beings in that way, in like liberating them from their suffering? Is there a possibility? And so the understanding one generates is that one can help sentient beings if one becomes a Buddha oneself. So if one attains enlightenment or Buddhahood oneself, one will be able to fulfill that wish of liberating all sentient beings. And as a result of that, one generates bodhicitta, the wish to become enlightened for the benefit of sentient beings.
所以呢，因此就是你说，为了要利益一切众生，为了要帮助一切众生，那我一定要成果。因为我有成果，我才能觉得这个能力。那当你升起这样的心的时候，就升起了菩提心。
其实，偏的偏比sem写的了，他能写的，你讲吧，人家老生讲句sem送西用做的话，
So with
是
regard
偏比 sem 写的，讲吧，人家老生讲句 sem。
So with regard to the awareness that wishes to benefit sentient beings, we can say it is fourfold, which is above compassion, the special altruistic attitude, and bodhicitta. So there are four types of awarenesses that wish to benefit sentient beings.
但其实讲不清楚，人家全部都是给这些我呢，俺看上你们写的了，这是个主要的。人家给俺对下一步这个的，讲别些当一步这个的，讲最生的第五一步这个的，我看上你们进来嘛。 第个人是呢，这边现在你不接不的太个人，他可这些家伙们的。你这个现在对下你不这个人是的，但是你这情报讲哪个人呢？甚至他们这对下的他讲的这个原因的，甚至他们这对下的这个钱呢，这个零的基因，那甚至他们这他你就同意因不这了，那对话的这处，第几这个都是第三个的考量的，第二差不说人性，说差不的人性稀有了，是等这的钱呢。 人家全部写的这个，真的，俺人家全部讲的，对下一步去写的，了过去去那个的。
So with regard to great love and with regard to great compassion, so as explained before, as mentioned by Geshe-la before, so compassion is considered to be an antidote to desirous attachment. Love is considered to be an antidote to aversion, and bodhicitta an antidote to ignorance. Now, with regard to love being an antidote to aversion, well, that is obvious, so it's not necessary to explain this. But how does compassion serve as an antidote to desire? So here we speak in particular of great compassion. So all sentient beings, wanting to free all sentient beings, understanding that all sentient beings have suffered, generate, or have suffering, experienced suffering due to desire. It is due to their desire. So it's therefore the wish for other sentient beings to be free from that desire. How wonderful it would be, may they be free. I myself will free them. So they have desire and they perceive, therefore due to this desire, they have this mistaken assertion or the mistaken understanding that certain things bring them happiness. And so one wants to remove that mistaken attitude that arises out of attachment. And by doing so, by working towards sentient beings, one's own desire will naturally subside. So in that way, compassion or great compassion is an antidote to desire or desirous attachment. 将苦误认为乐的这件事情能够消除的话，你也同时会在自己身上觉得说，我今天我碰到那个乐其实是苦的，所以我也是将苦视为乐的。所以这时候呢，你就可以借由希望众生脱离一切贪的同时，你也能够希望自己脱离一切贪，那你自己贪心就会降低。那这就是你修大悲心之后，就会对治贪的大悲。
但等这一年纪的光用的，当我到那个最脚的边时候，就想的是到古绝天是没的，等这是不是用的了？当我讲的时候。
So, upon meditating on this type of compassion, initially it is merely like citing words. It's almost like just citing the words that help one to generate this compassion. So the mind is not really moved. It's not really moved in an effective way when initially starting to meditate on compassion.
아니 디네 고면도 아니 참참다 아니 야고 용데 야 참참도 용로 맞지 되게 딘디기를 맞지 레로래.
And thereafter, upon continuing with one's meditation, with one's practice of compassion, sometimes one's practice will be effective, but at other times one will not experience anything. There will not be any, that one's practice will not be effective.
다 디제라 아니 야르게 정도 전에 수수 치도니는 섬이야 뭐지 땅와이나 가뒤 땅의 폐제 용되는지 센팅내 발명지 게임인지 딜라도 아니 주민이 어떻게 봤을까
然后呢，当你如果继续在修的时候，然后你学的
So then after some time, upon continuing with one's practice, if one then intentionally, if one makes an effort and intentionally tries to generate compassion, then most of the time it will arise. So at some point one reaches this point when at some point, at most of the time, one's compassion will successfully arise. So this is called the experience with relation to making an effort, or an experience that requires an effort.
다 디뇽아디 계산에 디 양내 양도 고명도 에네 바라질라 수수 곱실을 자제 납실 균댕기 셈거랑 단인지 뭐라 바친지 랑기 남기 깨어도 에네 신에 단인지 친구 체로 수업을 자고
So at some point then, this kind of experience will be transformed such that compassion arises naturally. So it naturally arises in one's continuum. So without making an effort, it just naturally, spontaneously arises, and that is then called great compassion.
여기 광리 게 상바지요 오시바 군인지 더 수시모 공부가 아니 그런 게 니만의 인지 테스트 기기였어 이내 공부지라 수치를 쉬고 저도스 잠잠다 심진 동호를 미네 검찰에다 디 잠샤차네 디 잠샤바도 제 디슈들레 되게 가라스요 가르쳐봐 이네 단 인지 단다 저거도지 동면이 시다 되리 갈라오다 이제 섬당당치를 제나다 시다기 된지 띵딜의 유대와 마도 미주셔야 되는 시다요 말아 리치를 뒤지는 미주셔야 다 뒤슈심을 리가라 어디 섬자도 잠샤바도 어제 어디요 보도사
So with regard to, one of his Geshe-la's acquaintances, so there's a meditator who he knows, Geshe-la knows personally, who meditates on compassion. One of his main practices is to meditate on compassion. And so initially he meditated a little bit on compassion, then slowly his practice became stronger and stronger. And then whenever he, at some point, whenever he thought about, whenever he contemplated or reflected on the suffering of sentient beings, he could no longer stop. He was unable to stop. So even when he arose from the meditation, thereafter, whatever he did, he couldn't stop the mind of compassion to arise. So when he was making food, when he was preparing food, even at those times he experienced compassion. So here, from the point of view of the different types of suffering, so for example, the conditioned pervasive suffering, so if one really thinks about this deeply, if compassion goes really deeply, goes to a deep level, then there will be a time when, without any freedom, without any control, tears will well up in one's eyes. So there are different kinds of cases here, but there's definitely a time when one is meditated on compassion to such a degree that without any control, one reacts by having great compassion, by reacting through the power of this compassion.
아니 상계는 심지 탐지를 변도 제세디 라네티 양 심지 탐지기 체도 상계 된다지 바래 근데 심지 탐지기 된도 상계 레디 심지 탐지기 체도 세 책디 나로라 잡아침보다 니지 침보디 딘디나 수주고 지선다 지당을 버지 시디 잡아침보다 니지 침보디 장주생 교레스 기 시당제 요래 야 야즈레 차나 장주생 코레게 차디 잠닝지디다 장주생 차시도 차디가
So when we try
chanjusem landu chamba chamba denji chamba de ngama kijare la pa surtu me bache chanjusem landu ne chamba chamba denji chamba de tina de denji di ko ati ra ko.
So when we talk about bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, or bodhicitta here, so whether we say once we become enlightened, we're able to help all sentient beings, or for all sentient beings to become a Buddha. So whichever way one says it, basically here it is for the benefit, it's for sentient beings. So the word for sentient beings, in order to, or for sentient beings, this word, these words, they pertain to love and compassion. In other words, love and compassion are subsumed under this expression for the benefit of all sentient beings. So when we speak of love and compassion, there's different ways of considering them. Love and compassion can be considered as the cause for compassion. For bodhicitta, sorry. So when we talk about bodhicitta, the wish to become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings, love and compassion are considered to be the cause of bodhicitta. But they can also be considered a part of bodhicitta. So instead of just being the cause of bodhicitta, they're also a part. And Geshe-la says he's explaining this in order to understand that love and compassion are not merely the causes and conditions, or the causes that give rise to bodhicitta, but they're part of bodhicitta. So it's not only that love and compassion have to precede bodhicitta, but once bodhicitta has arisen, they're part of that awareness.
Tichidizane ta karsiware teba chimbi shung tanda yodeba ta nanglola digedila song induzane sangye ye saben jabu de karre siyongdu ane chanchu sempi res di song shawa mato shanda kangla song yomare sangye saben toni re seyaro sangye saben jabu de shine gome re seyaro jabu de tinte kawaii yomare ta to ta changmanangda sungu yomare de to kanji sangye saben karre sine songsa 다 대중이 도지 여바이나 별로 주사죠. 참에 나눠라. 산지에 사변이 착주심에 숨내야지.
So in the Mahayana Sutra, those Mahayana sutras that mention the seat of enlightenment, all those sutras, they mention the seat of enlightenment to be bodhicitta. So they do not say that there's any other seat of enlightenment other than bodhicitta. They do not mention emptiness. They do not mention calm abiding. They do not mention any of these awarenesses in the mind realizing emptiness or calm abiding. None of those are mentioned as a seat of enlightenment. So of course not all the sutras mention the seats of enlightenment, but those that do, and those that are translated into Tibetan, they all mention bodhicitta as the seat for enlightenment, the seat for Buddhahood.
진짜 대중이 돌이 지진이지나 전주심디 다산제 이 사변도 차용도 전에 기시디 문에이나 아니 사변이 몰루버체 페리싱가이나 사변이 마다버체 다딜 출루다 출루 니마트디체 부멘도즈다 메다 다 가제 아니 가리 먹어 가리체베이네 이게 요마르다 진짜 전주심도 도나마제버체 산제 구구도 시네 아니 다 도다 나다 가리 먹어 가리 이네 다 당아지 이니 서부 인신이 제등에들이 용되고 하는데 디상어 어디다 그랬다 사변이 몰루버체 아니 출루고도 가리체 다시 우치기 다 그렇게 깨어서 같은.
So with regard to those who have faith in the Mahayana Sutra, so if it's really true what it says in the Mahayana Sutra, then we need the seat of bodhicitta. Without the seat of bodhicitta, if one does any other kind of practice, it is impossible to gain a result. So this is like having a field, having water, the warmth, and so forth. When a farmer plowing a field, etc. But if the seed is missing, even though one engages in all these activities, one fertilizes the field, one adds water, etc., one plows the field, there will be no sprout coming. There's no way that one will ever have a sprout if there's no seed. So likewise, whether it is sutric teachings or tantric teachings, great instructions and so forth, if one engages in all sorts of different practices, but the seed of bodhicitta is missing, then one may add the cooperative conditions, water, etc., but no way one will achieve the appropriate result.
所以有人可能会觉得说，我努力做这些，好像会成不少。可是如果说你连呼吸都没有做，其实就不能谈成。
天心白个是我的，我说的米给那个钱了，我们不有了，你有我们我们月饼，我们月饼能了呢，但做的少个我们差点，少卡才能我们现在什么那个没。我天心这个三九国防主编了，少着我的个人是呢，年纪的人是呢，缺氧大不对的，多难了，等你送人，多难了，等你送人三九。缺氧大不对的多，对不多。
So it is explained in the sutra that pertains to the perfect dharma. So it is explained in that sutra that with regard to the different types of sense powers or the different types of sense sources or the sources, here we talk about the eye source, the nose source, and so forth. The greatest source is the life force, is the source of the life force. So if the source of the life force stops, then the other sources, they will stop working. So likewise here, the life force here, the source of the life force here is bodhicitta.
三九国防主编。
Sorry, I said bodhicitta. No, it's compassion, which is the life force. So it's compassion, which is the life force or the source of the life force of Buddhahood.
他第几对在呢？any 感觉呢？他拍个看这看些个，完了对了嘛？那这个都见面的。他看到了呀，第 any 推荐个多难的些个，给这里边，给这什么记录啊？他今天多把啥事记录啊？ 第七位呢，我给能落了，我给凶，但他难道都是往过举，现在他举的能落了，安尼他我给过的送人的，第看这几个效果的是我的，第看这学会练的了，长久性长年纪长久性高呢，安尼举来结巴呢，安尼现在的写是，第举了嘛结巴都，我的写的拍下，就过来，他给打嘛就是，不停的有。 第七呢，可是杨生也兄弟的，今年就申请的时候了，俺那个party超营什么搞些钱，今年就是毛工的呢，毛搞钱，第二嘛俺的要不得这个没事，第这个什么了，但是那个那些，甚至他们这里你里面人家有了三届了，我那俺今年就是么那俺的马天送也看的是呢，第送偏淘宝嘛，他好了，偏嘛淘宝的我这里的，俺的女人没有，他好了。 第一，你真的就是成绩就是蛮严的，蛮现实说，第二说嘛说的。啊。啊。我给他们要了，给你送的，我给你们要了，什么你们这趟去送的，你们这趟的送了，这些我的是对哦，挺送的。
So likewise, with regard to here, the Mahayana Sutras, when we just talk about the Sutric, the Mahayana Sutras, so here from the Sutric point of view, one may wonder, is this only from the point of view of the Sutric texts? But it's not the case that it's only from the point of view of Sutric texts, because there are also Tantric scriptures, which talk about the importance of generating love, compassion, bodhicitta, and so forth. So there's one occasion where the Buddha basically said that for a person who hasn't generated love, compassion, bodhicitta, and so forth, so in whose continuum those awarenesses have not arisen, any instructions on Tantra should not be given, any Tantric instruction should not be given. And so leaving aside seeing the mandala, so no instructions should be given, and they would not be allowed, they would not have the permission to directly see the mandala of the specific deity here. So this has nothing to do with the Buddha being partial with regard to only those or preferring only those who have love, compassion, and bodhicitta due to some personal preference. It's rather that since the Buddha has great compassion for all sentient beings, love and compassion for all sentient beings, it is not that he dislikes those who do not have love, compassion, etc., but rather that he understands those who do not have love, compassion, and bodhicitta will not benefit from the tantric practice, in particular this specific one that is mentioned here, so will not benefit from this tantric practice. In fact, it may actually harm them to do the practice. It may actually be harmful for them to engage in this particular practice.
That really lama was it in the Namnam Junkie Yusi at Abada, Chabesa Juda, the Mobile Lola, Sangi, Yuzodi, and then Chamiji Chanjusim Yimbada, Chamiji Chanjusim Mena, and the Sanga Mutu to Rebebada, the Mobusung. Namnam Junkie Yusi.
So from the point of view of, so we don't need to mention all these tantras, but the tantra, for example, of directly generating namnam, I don't know how to translate this, or the root tantra of Manjushri and so forth. So in all these particular tantras, in all these tantric scriptures, it is mentioned, it is explained that one will not attain the tantric realization unless one has cultivated love, compassion, bodhicitta, and so forth.
The D Karesana, and a Chanjusem di Kieni, Digi Tone, and a Karicheva ine, Chimbachunji Tamba ine, the Sanji Vilam, Chadwar, Tachimesim, the Nation Comji Java ine, Nagilam Shuva ine, and Necheva ine, Sama Sanji Vilam said Chadwar. That Chanjusem may be Tone, Kari Cheshava ine, Sanji Vilam the Chagwar. Chisanta, then the Tiata Kadeka, the Paraka, the Tambudi, taking the Chavaina, Kate Tambudi. Kagi lam shuk se tangodi chanju se nam jebana ne shine ane lam shuk ane ke sabe chele ta chanju se nam jebana lam di kan lero ta bo sanji ge la ga di kan lero ke sabe chele chanju se mebe thone shida gari cheba ina ko be go ba ta ga de de ta chanju se yebe thone ke waji cheba ina gari cheba ina ko be chejong ji ma do ja go ta la ga di kan tu go.
So when we speak of bodhicitta, so a person who's generated, who's cultivated bodhicitta in his continuum, whatever this person does becomes a path to enlightenment or path to Buddhahood. So whether they engage in generosity, in giving, even if it's just small generosity, it's just giving something small to another person. So this small action of generosity takes the person to enlightenment. Also, if they meditate, if they engage in meditation, it becomes a path to enlightenment. Whereas on the other hand, a person who has not cultivated bodhicitta, no matter what they do, no matter what activity they engage in, it does not become a cause or a path to enlightenment. So, for instance, when you take the mantra, Tayeta Katekata Paragata Parasangata Buddhisoha, so this expressing the path, the different stages of the path to enlightenment, when talking about the first gati, so the first gati expresses the first step of the path to enlightenment. But only once one has generated bodhicitta. Once one has generated bodhicitta, then gati, the first level of the path, has been generated in one's continuum. And it's not the case, so from then onwards, this person will travel on that same path to enlightenment. And it's not the case that one then kind of steps off that path and goes in a different direction. So a bodhisattva does not step off that path, but with bodhicitta continues on. So the progress towards enlightenment may be sometimes the progress may be greater or smaller, but in any case, the bodhisattva moves closer to the state of a Buddha.
Di shirshagi tone, ta nang segi, gyogyo dhamma dhayi kore, langa di kanda, 다 슝남저부디나 디가나 모tor 다나 조보요레 딜레나 세기 모tor 비다데 용거레 딜레다 거라지나 세가 다 초레 공바전 주샤르 초레 가디가리 초초레 단들레 텔라파샤네 라바카마수네 정인지네 무티네 조데나 다 조보리가 말고 레레르다 콜랑가 노래요 다 디마이나 아니 모tor 비 딱셔디 녀지 오시고다네 나가디가 산지에 나가디가 나가시다지가 안단데나 가주 당샤네 산지에는 일줘요 말아 그래서 어디다 지거래 그래서 전주생의 주도권에 맞게 나한테 뉴람레신 시고지까지 잡대네 같이 신다지로 거래 잡히는 말로 산지에는 일줘요 말다 일줘에다 파시 리고 타 지로 하려 말다 저거라
So saying that, when we talk about the path that leads one to enlightenment, so it is through bodhicitta that one moves closer to the state of a Buddha. So one is on the path to enlightenment, on the path to Buddha, and moves closer. So it doesn't matter how fast or how slowly one moves towards enlightenment, the main aspect is, or the main point is, that one actually moves closer towards enlightenment. So it's like when you have a path, you follow the right kind of road. There's a road that you follow, and you're on the right road. It doesn't matter how fast you travel. So you may have a car, and then there are different types of cars. There are faster cars, there are slower cars. So you may take a faster car, you get there faster. You may take a slower car. You may cycle, you may take a bicycle on the road. You may walk, you may jog, you may move on the arms and legs, like crawl on the ground, on your legs and on your hands. So no matter how fast or how slow you actually move, the point is that you go closer. You move closer to this, to the goal that this path takes you to, or to the goal that this road will take you to. So likewise here with bodhicitta, if with bodhicitta you're on the right road, you will go there no matter how fast or how slow you go. But if you're on the wrong path, if in other words, therefore, if you don't have bodhicitta, if in the case of the road, if you're on the wrong road, no matter how fast your car is, even if you drive the fastest car, if you're on the wrong road, it will not take you where you want to go. You will not even get closer to where you want to go. So likewise, with regard to not having bodhicitta, for someone who is not generated, who has not cultivated bodhicitta in his continuum, even if they engage in the practice of tantra, way that they will reach the goal of enlightenment. Maybe the tantric practice will take them somewhere else, but it will definitely not take them closer to enlightenment. It will not even take them in the direction of enlightenment.
다 디 제자 다 점리제 정주쌤디 상계 규유나 메나 레스 디 삼로 코이 토네 점리제 정주쌤라야 도나리에 용와다 상계세 테지 마시나 상계네 테마체를 어제 쳐가려 케가리어레세다 아니 점리제를 딜레도 말아 제자 다 디케제 셰고도 이렇게 좀 셰고고 다 테스 장나마도 되게 말아 다 지단에 라바이나 상계 차네 다 니머르젤레 심지 사야마고 동주르마고 답에 답을 꿰투베다 아니 손에 된투베다 어떤 된지 심지 된 쉬우지 제투베 순거로 진짜 다 디게디 내수도 뭐네 이나 된지 심지 타다 몸에봐 다 뒤에서 마세 심지 타다 몸에 산지사는 그 양산지 디게디게 심지 타다 몸에 된지 양 디게디게 양산지 디게디게 심지 타다 몸에 디 참만게 자와디 산지를 투 상계의 자와디 아니 잡아친구 인지 친구 딜레투 다 잡아친구 인지 친구 딜이 용에게 자와디 다다 인지 충정지 유대와 딜레투 제디 다다가 주주의 인지 때지 유대와디 다 사변도 있나 베티 타다 몸에 랑기에 심지 신기에 심지 랑다 신기 심지 타다 몸에 디지기 자와 차르다 다디 딘디지 유신도 다디 때스 이렇게 있다 때스 다도 제제 샤샤는 마체버지도 샤샤는 통보시고 차르다.
So with regard to love, compassion, bodhicitta, so all those are the main those are all the main causes to enlightenment. So for that, having that understanding, now we should think of the state of Buddhahood, to start generating some interest in those awarenesses by also starting to think of the Buddha, of Buddhahood. But without understanding, if we don't understand Buddhahood, if we don't really pay attention to that, then maybe the sense that what is the point in becoming a Buddha? What's the point actually? Not understanding why this is necessary. So we need to understand, we need to study, or we need to gain an understanding of the importance of becoming a Buddha. So the Buddha is someone who can benefit in one moment. So once someone has become enlightened, this person can help 1 million, 1 billion different people. In a very short period of time, can help 1 million, 1 billion people, lead them to liberation, free them from the lower realms, and so forth. So if really there's no limit to sentient beings, so there's limitless different types of sentient beings. So these limitless sentient beings, one is able to help those and take them to enlightenment. And then these different types of sentient beings of different predispositions, etc. So if one is able to take those sentient beings to enlightenment, these limitless sentient beings, these countless sentient beings, if one can take those to enlightenment, then they in turn will also take other sentient beings, other countless sentient beings to enlightenment. So considering the fact that we can take limitless sentient beings to enlightenment, who again will take limitless sentient beings to enlightenment, and so forth, all this comes down to bodhicitta in our own continuum. So bodhicitta, great love, great compassion. So the causes of this ability to take limitless sentient beings to enlightenment, who again take limitless, all this comes down, all this is rooted in bodhicitta, great love, great compassion. And then they in turn, in our continuum, so love, great compassion, bodhicitta, in our own continuum, they again are rooted in, or their cause, in that root love, in that little love and compassion that we have right now. So they are basically the root of all these amazing activities. So becoming a Buddha oneself, being able to help so many sentient beings, benefiting oneself and others. So it's basically the root, it's the root of great love, of great happiness for all sentient beings. So this is something we should look after. We should not neglect this kind of root love, this kind of basic love and compassion we have in our continuum. It would be a shame if we would let it waste.
En negabai pen tardu sanje ko ma digi drops ta di song sha ya di jingwon mo chin nga ke ba che do song sha ju ding di ke che le me da ti shi jap shin ji ja ba yin ta re ne shu sa ko jin di mo ne yin bi ta ti shi ja yu dong da ri be to ti shi ja yu ding sha de ba.
So this is why His Holiness usually says, if we generate this kind-heartedness, or kind-hearted attitude that wants to benefit others, so this attitude that wants to benefit others, it benefits ourselves, it benefits others. It is beneficial in this lifetime, it is beneficial in future lifetimes. It is beneficial from the point of view of the temporary goal, and it is beneficial from the point of view of enlightenment. So these are the benefits of benefiting others. And His Holiness saying so is not just because he's able to engage in eloquent speech, that he's able to give these eloquent kind of explanations, but rather it is by relying on the support of authentic quotations as well as reasoning, logical reasoning. It's through those that His Holiness makes those statements.
지금 바바 진리시 나 차시 유나로 디나 노부티도 차니 디나로 노부디 참니지 전주신지 증거 그래서 다 노부디 알링에는 아주 이치 유네면에 루키노로라 노부디 라바이나 루긴 누르디 라바이나 안틸라모나 잔두다 사야 통해 거에 테디다 된다 상무 쪽쪽이지 된디 시고를 주나 어디를 빼자니 전인지 정주선의 유나 디지 통신을 수리돼 있지 내가 다도 디차네 누르디 빼자래.
So, for instance, with regard to Chenrezig or Avalokiteshvara, four-armed Avalokiteshvara. So, in two of his hands, he holds a jewel. He holds this jewel. So, the jewel represents love, compassion, and bodhicitta. So, here the jewel, actually, the jewel here is said to be a wish-fulfilling jewel from the Nagas, like the Naga wish-fulfilling jewel, which, according to legend, this jewel, if one makes prayers, one will be able to obtain all the physical things one requires. So food, drink, etc. Whatever one requires from a physical point of view, on a physical level, one will get through this wish-fulfilling jewel. So therefore it's analogous, or it represents here bodhicitta in the sense that this being the root of all happiness. So therefore one is able to obtain all the happiness with this awareness. So the lotus that Avalokiteshvara holds represents the wisdom realizing emptiness. So of those two, so therefore the wisdom realizing emptiness and bodhicitta, it is difficult to say which one is most important. It's difficult to determine which of the two is most important. From the point of view of eliminating opposing forces, we say that the wisdom realizing emptiness is more important. Whereas from the point of view of acquiring all the conducive conditions for one's practice, we say that bodhicitta is more important.
지단 라바라바를 저르는데 아니 시라다 아니 제와니 간이 개체를라도 아니 가시 디스무도 제와 개체그랬어. 제와 주네 매바이나 아니 시라디 평에 바샤네. 내가 침모여니 가요 그랬어. 어디 디스무도.
From a course point of view, if we take the two, wisdom and the caring attitude, or wisdom and kind-heartedness, some say that kind-heartedness or the caring attitude, love, are more important. Why? Because without love, without a caring attitude, wisdom can actually be used in a negative way, so that it becomes harmful. So it can become very harmful if used without love.
지금 돈이도 위시라다 전주스님 가리조를 시티 아니 먼저 기지시대 점점에 점점 레벨 바바진에시 전주스님 계셔 지거레스 너보디 차이 또 전니 가도들 메도 배마도
So sometimes when Geshe-la jokes with his friends or jokes around, so when they discuss which one is more important, the wisdom realizing emptiness or bodhicitta, well, Geshe-la's response is actually for Avalokiteshvara, bodhicitta is more important because it holds it very close to his heart, whereas the lotus is kind of held at the side.
딱 된다 찍바 이네 찍베주 제단기 딱이 라바나 신체바 이나 대기 탐지기 중내 디수지 제와들이 계신 것이 차로로 참 심pen이 셈데 다야 찍다가랑 된다 다가랑 납탄직네 다 심pen이 셈시도 다 신동에도 좀데 닝지 신의 펜버 좀데 아니 잡아 다 마산 제니 심지의 펜버 제와 삼에기 전주셈 다 심pen이 셈스는 되게 들어와 다 납탄직은 단데 셈기 잡아 류기 잡아 마기 잡아 아니 셈기 된데 용적으로 심pen이 기셈 심pen이 마 심pen이 다 간다 아니 디게도 수 담네 라단진을 라는데 다 랑데 심이 심진 디게디라 아니 가보체 세와체 펜버투 제바이나 rangi cedi 기보용 체치마의 기보용 탈도 상계 rangi 내가다 탈도기 디지털지 조조야지 디게제 대신에 자신보다요 명지디레 나의 최대 자신보다 심제되기 잘한다 심제되기 자신보 잘한다 저다도 지거래.
So when saying, trying to say, or saying the same thing, but from a different kind of angle would be as follows. So when we say love and compassion, so love is the source for all happiness. So the wish to benefit others is the source for all happiness. So it's basically wishing to protect sentient beings, wishing to benefit sentient beings, having love for sentient beings, wanting to become a Buddha for the benefit of sentient beings, so generating bodhicitta. So here, one engages in loving actions from the point of view of body, speech, and mind. So in other words, one engages in actions to benefit others that are mental, that are verbal, or that are physical. So, but summarizing all these actions, they're all directed towards other sentient beings. So all these actions of benefiting, of engaging in beneficial actions, they are directed at other sentient beings. So liking sentient beings, caring for sentient beings, wanting to benefit sentient beings. So this leads to the happiness of this lifetime, the happiness of future lifetimes. It leads to temporary happiness, and it leads to the state of a Buddha. But therefore, we say that the root of happiness, we can therefore say that the root of happiness is actually sentient beings. So to look at it from a different angle, so not only love and compassion, but from a different angle, also sentient beings are the root, and therefore are very, very precious. So let's leave it for today. So we'll meet again tomorrow at 1:30. Class again tomorrow at 1:30.